Hi everyone, my name is Ava Nicole Francis and I am here with Wendy Luck, interviewing her for the lineup on September 9th. Wendy, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. I'm really excited to be joining for the lineup.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so fun. It's a great show. Have you seen the show yet? Have you been on
I
it?
have seen it and I just have been blown away by just the talent and the spirit of everything. It's
Oh,
just a lot of fun. And
it's so fun.
Susie is amazing. I think she is just, she cracks me up and not a lot of people crack me
Oh
up
my
that
God,
much.
she
So
is so funny. We're very lucky to have her.
very lucky.
So Wendy, I hear you're not only a vocalist, but also you play the flute and you're classically trained, right? You studied in France?
Yes, I studied actually in a lot of different places, but the the work with Jean-Pierre Rampal in Nice, France, that kind of stands out, in my recollection of steps in my career. So yeah, so I started like that. I played in a lot of orchestras and chamber ensembles. I was actually writing a lot of very new music, avant-garde music kind of thing. I was like in that track. But I always loved jazz and could not really get away from that voice in my ear saying, you got to move in that direction. And
Totally.
it was a calling for like singing as well as playing. So,
Yeah, how did you get your start in like playing flute and all of that?
well, I mean, it was crazy. And I don't know if they do this so much anymore in schools, but it was literally like the fourth grade band guy comes in. I mean, the guy would come into the fourth grade classes. What instrument do you want to play?
Mm.
And so in those days, I didn't. I don't know. I just sort of. It felt random that I said, "Oh, I'll play flute," and then it just sort of like had a life of its own. But I was always singing too. So there was always like I grew up with my mom singing all the standards, playing piano. So that was always, in my ear. And I loved all the old film noir movies with the big band singers. And it was sort of like, that was part of my childhood. You know, um, Both of those things were sort of like,
Yeah.
calling me.
Yeah. So you went from, fourth grade flute playing to, the big band in the New York City's Rainbow Room, which is super, super cool. How long have you been working with them?
Well, that's they've I'm pretty sure they've closed that down now, and it's just like private events. But it was a long term. It was like maybe 5 years, something like that,
Oh.
where it was like I was the lead singer. There was a male singer. We kind of tag teamed a bit on that, and but it was like an every night gig for all those years. So like to have a gig like that in New York City where you get to sing all the standards, and it was like a throwback to all the film noir movies that I was used to drool over. So that was really a lot of fun, and that we alternate. There was the swing band, which is what I was in, and I sang and played flute. They had some charts that they had written for me to like do both. And then we'd alternate with the Latin band. So I was sort of always drooling for that as well. But I'm sort of like a kid in a candy store with stuff like this. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Super cool. So you have some CDs out, I hear. 7 of them?
I have 7 CDs, and there's
Wow.
probably like 10 more in my brain, but we can only do so much.
But of course, but of course. So, I heard that one of those was recorded in Rio.
Yes. So even from a young age, I was really in love with Brazilian music and just taken with it. Like it just swept me away. And interestingly, that was a genre that I could hear somebody singing and also playing flute.
Yeah.
It was like kind of suited to it. So I had that dream too. And then I decided I am going to record a CD of all Brazilian music, which was called See You in Rio. And interestingly, we ended up recording it in Rio.
Oh.
Um, and we crunched the numbers, and it made more sense to do it there, which was fine. But we ended up with a legendary trio that of João Bosco, which was Nelson Faria, Ney Conceição, and Kiko Freitas, and those guys were just. I felt like I had died and gone to heaven with those players, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So that was just like a fabulous experience, and I probably want to do that again someday, you know.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
where else would you want to record?
Well, funny you should mention. I did a bunch of other CDs. I also played in a lot of. I've traveled a lot, and I'm really interested in the music of other cultures. And but I had another dream that I wanted to go to Egypt and record in the Great Pyramid.
Oh.
And people have told me when you say that, Wendy, you have to pause because it has to register.
Yeah,
Don't go on to the next
you
sentence. So,
can't glaze over that. You gotta give
right.
someone a minute to be like, whoa.
Process. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that was a dream that I'm telling you, it was a little too crazy to even believe that it happened. Like when I mentioned it to people and I spoke with this I had been to Egypt originally,
Mhm.
and I had befriended an Egyptologist, and I told him my dream, and he's like, "Well, I'd love to help you, but you can't get permission, you know, from the government. Like you'd have to get, you know, major permission. Nobody's going to be able to do it." And then I got a call from him a week later, and he said, "Guess what?"
You'll never guess.
Yeah, so got the permission. I went with a dear friend of mine, and we were like two girls traipsing across the desert, and like made this thing happen. And so I recorded actually a solo flute inside the Great Pyramid, which was unbelievable. You know, the acoustics in there, even if you're not woo woo, which I am a closet woo woo girl, but the acoustics in there are phenomenal. Like
Oh,
that when I came back with the recording, which I did the whole recording myself, when I came back with it, like the engineers were like, "We're not touching this because there's nothing we could do to emulate this sound
Mhm.
or to even make it any better." So that was kind of interesting.
What's
So
it
I
like inside?
say it again.
What's it like inside the pyramid?
Well, it's not like what I anticipated. I thought it was going to be this big triangle thing,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. You climb up this staircase, really long staircase, many, many steps, which I guess represents the timeline of humanity or something like this. And it's a very small room, and there's like an empty sarcophagus in there. But the acoustics, I did a lot of study on it actually, and I spoke to scientists from NASA who have done studies that it resonates to this sound F sharp, the tone F sharp. And there was a lot of, you know, kind of interesting information, not so esoteric, like it was like scientifically proven, like there's some strange things going on in there. Yeah, but it's just like it's not as big of a room as I thought, but and it's like a rectangular like room. But I think from what I understand is the pyramidal structure outside of it actually affects the acoustic in that little room that you're in. So it's very complex, but that's about in 25 words or less. That's probably a reasonable explanation for it. But yeah, everybody thinks you're going to walk in and it's just empty, but there's all kinds of different chambers and
Yeah.
you know little twists and turns and mysterious, you know, little rooms in there and things
Yeah.
like that. But this one's it's called the Grand Gallery is what you walk up, and then it's called the King's Chamber where I was. So
Wow.
I
That's
recorded there, and then I recorded in the temples along the Nile, and that's a different CD.
Oh my gosh. So you've been like literally everywhere.
Yes, not everywhere. It's still there's a lot of different places on the planet to check off, but I think I'm going to take a pause for,
You
for a little
still gotta get
while.
to Antarctica, you know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, but you know, it's balancing all of those interests with the jazz, which really the foundationally is what I'm really drawn to,
Yeah.
aesthetically, and sort of like combining a lot of my different um, interests musically with the jazz, but like that it's foundationally like a jazz kind
Yeah.
of orientation.
Awesome. So, I mean, obviously you've traveled a bunch. So on that of traveling, you were a guest in a PBS special that was filmed in Ireland. Is that right?
Oh, that's right. So that was a friend of mine, Eamon McChrystal,
Mhm.
was featured, and we actually met on a film we were both in,
Oh my God.
called Big Stone Gap, with Ashley Judd, um, Whoopi Goldberg, and a number of other people. And there was a band, and so we were in the band. Anyway, he then invited me to join him for this PBS special. So I was the featured guest with this large orchestra. And he was singing Irish, beautiful Irish music, and I was playing flute, which again, flute is also very much a part of Irish music. So, yeah, so that was a wonderful experience as well.
That's so cool. I mean, you're just so multi-talented, and I mean, that's amazing. Are you going to be playing flute or singing on the lineup?
So I'm going to be doing both because my whole thing is like combining these things, you know. So years ago, people were like, Wendy, you have to pick. Come on, either voice or flute. And I used to be puzzled by that, you
Yeah.
know. But it seems like things have eased, you know, aesthetically. You know, people have loosened up about that, you know, super specialization
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of thing, you know, so that's really nice. But
Yeah.
I was determined anyway. It was sort of like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing both of these things. So,
Yeah. Okay, well, and then there's something that I don't, in doing my research,
yes,
I found a little bit something that most people may or may not know. So you're not just Wendy Luck, you're Dr. Wendy Luck. You're an NYU graduate.
I am.
So I'm not just speaking to Wendy Luck here. I'm speaking to Dr. Wendy Luck.
Yes. I don't know if I can write you a prescription, but you know, I can certainly give it a try. Well, that was totally unexpected, I have to say. I came back from Egypt and I had put together this one woman show with
Mhm.
multimedia and flutes and all kinds of stuff. And I did this performance at NYU, and they like ran after me when I was finished. Like, we want to invite you into the doctoral program. And I said, no, 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 no more school. Because this wasn't that long ago, you know. And I was like, no, thank you. And they were like, kind of like 300 people want this position. We're offering it to you and all of this. And I'm like, no, I'm too weird. No,
You're like, no
thanks.
school.
School. And anyway, it was sort of one of those things like, how many things get handed to you like that?
Yeah.
So I was sort of like, no, I just want to play jazz. I don't want to do. But I ended up doing it. And it was like, it was a great experience. And I did conceive of another one woman show called Aquatic Information. And that was kind of a really cool journey because that was pretty out there and kind of brought together a lot of interesting stuff, you know, from different aspects of my past, my lineage, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. What's
So,
your process of making a one-woman show?
well, I guess it's very different, you know, depending upon like this last show that I had done called Aquatic Information. This was really an interesting path because that one I had found my cousin had recorded on an old cassette the story of my Russian Jewish grandmother talking about her escape from the Bolsheviks.
Oh
And
my
she
gosh.
sang on it. And she sang in Russian and Yiddish. And I was sort of like, I got to do something with this, you
Wow.
know? So that was sort of like the foundation of the show. And then I
Wow.
built this whole thing about, you know, emigration and like we're all from someplace else, and you know, this whole sort of almost like a unifying sort of thing,
Yeah.
but it was pretty uh, I would say not esoteric, but not necessarily like a linear show that
Mhm.
I might do, say, like in a cabaret environment. So in a
Mhm.
cabaret environment, I might do something more like I want to, you know, bring together this group of songs because it has
Yeah.
a certain theme or something like that.
Oh,
But that one really stood out in its own category.
yeah. Oh, I imagine.
And especially, it was a lot of technology, a
Oh,
lot of, you know, the multimedia and all of that. Um, sometime, some at some point, it would be really cool to put that into a cabaret environment,
Yeah, totally.
if I could, but
Yeah,
it'd be
absolutely.
uh,
Well, Dr. Wendy Luck.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
do
What
you
pers-
have do you have anything coming up in the future for you? Any shows that you have?
Well, I am working. I just did a show at Pangea
Ooh,
with a wonderful band, and I'd like to develop that because there's a few places that have asked me to do it, but I'd
mhm.
like to just expand upon that a little bit. So that's sort of like a project in the works. And then I recently just found out that I'm a finalist for this cabaret um, show of, I think it's 8 performers. I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
That's good. That's going to be at Don't Tell Mamas on November 1st,
Oh
and that's
wow.
all I can tell you about it. I literally just I literally just found that out. So but I'm very excited about that too. And
Yeah.
then after that, we'll get into gear of what my next show might be.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well,
It's
thank
it,
you. Thank you for coming on and thank you for talking with us. And for all of you watching, come see the lineup on September 9th. Wendy Luck will be one of the performers doing both flute and singing.
that's right.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. Come on, you can do it.
Yes,
Well,
and I'm really looking forward to it, and I really am delighted to be part of this. So,
we're very lucky to have you, and thank you for being on the show. Thank you for joining us today and doing this interview. And yeah, I mean, we'll be seeing you on Tuesday.
thank you so much, and especially for helping all of us with all this social media stuff and getting
Of
it
course.
all like happening. So, thank you.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you for talking with us, and we will see you on Tuesday.
See you soon. Bye.